All right, all right. I have now taught this lesson 3 times. Wait, I don't think it's quite started. The video thing started yet. Hold on. YouTube is still thinking about. Okay, now I'm live. Now I'm live. YouTube has now told me I'm live now. Okay, good. I taught this lesson 3 times. The last 3 times, YouTube decided to eat it. It went away both times. It's making me somewhat upset to have to. It's fine. It's fine. I'm gonna keep doing it because I hope these videos are useful to you. But when YouTube eats my videos, I'm not pleased because I just wasted my time. Right, hours gone down the drain. Anyway, you don't care about me. You want to get to the lesson, right? Here we go. Oh, by the way, I'm Mr. Salt. If you don't remember. There we go. All right, we are. Oh shoot. Okay, I'm gonna click this so this little sign goes away. How about that? Okay. This is Unit 1, Lesson 3, all right? So Lesson 3, we're going to be talking about commissions, royalties, and piecework pay. All right, this is for the class Advanced Algebra with Financial Applications. We have 3 learning targets for Lesson 3, 3 learning targets, and they're right here, okay? The first one is I can compute pay based on percent commissions, and I can compute piecework pay as well as I can describe the advantages and disadvantages of pay based on production. So the idea here is that if I give you a percent commission and the amount of sales, you'll be able to calculate pay based on percent commission. If I give you a piecework rate and the number of pieces produced, you'll be able to produce piecework pay. And you'll be able to describe some of the advantages and some of the disadvantages of pay based on production. Okay, so those are our 3 learning targets for Lesson 1. And fortunately, we only have 4 vocabulary terms. Commission. Commission, the first term here. Commission means like commission generally refers to a percentage of sales, right? You get a salesperson is paid by commission usually. They get paid a certain percentage of the sales they make. Royalty is a special kind of commission pay. It refers to artists, usually authors and artists. Okay, so royalties, an author or a record, someone like a musician that records tracks and plays music. They'll get paid a royalty based on how many times their song is played on the radio. A piece worker. A piece worker is a person that gets paid by the piecework rate, right? So a piece worker is someone who gets paid based on how many pieces they produce, and I'll talk more about that in a little bit. Here are some standards we'll be going over. But this video right here, if you're watching it, it's because you found it. It's going to go right in here. This is the video actually right now from the last lesson, and yeah. So okay, this stuff here is just basically mostly for me. I include it in the lesson so that you can take a look and you can kind of see where we're going with this. When these things are designed, I have certain topics I have in mind, and then and from there we taught. Here's the lessons. We're on lesson 3 right now. And this is Unit 1 wages, and we'll be going to an income taxes and then in the future. All right. So this is where I'm going to read a really long piece of text, which can be really boring for video. If you want to read this to yourself, you can just skip ahead and read it yourself and skip ahead and ignore me, right? But for those who like text read to them, here I am. Here's what this is all about. Okay. All right. Error. Okay. Just making sure YouTube is telling me that this isn't streaming very well. Oh well. Here I go. What jobs base their pay according to the amount produced? Well, some employees are not paid by the number of hours they work. Their pay is based on the amount of sales they make. Stockbrokers, travel agents, authors, and musicians, and salespersons may all be paid based upon money from sales. These people are paid a commission or a royalty. The commission or royalty rate is usually expressed as a percent. People who get paid commissions or royalties earn more money as more sales are made. Even if they work many hours, they can earn very little money if they make very few sales. Some employees get a commission in addition to a regular salary. Can you think of any advantages or disadvantages of getting paid only by commission? Well, let's talk about that. If you're getting paid only by commission, you're only getting paid when you make sales, right? If you aren't making any sales, you could be working lots of hours and getting paid very little. So the disadvantage of working only by commission is that if sales are poor, you could be working a lot of hours and making very little money. However, the reverse can also be true, right? You could be working very little, sales could be really brisk, and you're making a lot of sales, working very few hours, and bada bing, bada boom, you're making a lot of money. So the advantage is if you can make those sales happen, you can make a lot of money in fewer hours. And on the disadvantage is, well, if sales aren't very good, if you can't induce or convince people to buy, then you're not getting paid so high, right? All right. So a real estate agent, a real estate salesperson receives a commission on the sale of each home. Money is not made until there is a sale. When an author writes a book, the author's job is basically done. Royalties depend on sales, but the author does not have to do any more writing to make more money. However, an author can do promotional events and book signings to increase awareness of the book, which may increase sales of the book. Compare commission workers to people who are paid according to the amount of items they produce. They are paid by production rather than the length of time it takes them to do the job. These employees are called pieceworkers. Pieceworkers are paid a certain amount of money called a piecework rate for each item they complete. Although piecework is not as common as in years past, there are still jobs in farming, manufacturing, and journalism where this method of payment is used. Piecework pay is sometimes used in combination with an hourly wage. The employee gets paid by the hour and receives a certain amount of money for each piece of work completed. The greater the number of pieces of work completed, the more money the employee makes. What are the benefits to both the employer and the worker? All right, let's think about this. What are the benefits of piecework rate, piecework rate to the employer and the employee? Well, for the employee, there is the potential there if you can produce a lot fast, you can make extra money, right? If you're really good, if you're a farm worker and you're getting paid by the bushel of cucumber you pick, and if you can pick a lot of cucumbers per day, you can potentially get paid a lot more money than someone else who's a little bit slower, who can't work as hard. Um, and what's the advantage to the employer? The advantage to the employer is that they have created an incentive for people to work very hard, and because they don't get paid as much if they don't produce as much. So it's not about hours spent on the job; it's about bushels of cucumbers picked, or bushels of tomatoes, or number of articles written as a journalist, or amounts, the number of little widgets or items produced in a factory or in a workshop. So what's the disadvantage? Gosh, if you're not producing very fast, if you're sick that day, if you're just a little slower, you're not going to get paid so hot, right? It's the production is based on production here, right? So you have the kind of the same some of the same advantages and disadvantages of commissions. All right, this is the place where you're going to put your name. I'm putting my name in here. You're going to use your name. All right. And then I'm going to ask you, what are the learning targets? Well, remember we already talked about those learning targets. You'll always find them at the top, right here. And what you can do is you can just copy and paste these. Highlight them, Control C, and then bring these back down and paste them right here. Why do I make you do that? Because once I got called on this. Someone said, Mr. Solt, how do you know your students are looking at the learning targets? How do you know for sure? I don't know. I say it out loud, and then I have it on the paper, and I have it on the board. Like, yeah, but how do you know for sure? Okay, I guess I'll have you guys copy and paste it. All right, then I know for sure, right? I know because you copied and pasted it, right? It's something you've done, not something I've done. So that's why I have this. It seems silly, but those learning targets are important, and that's why I go over them. And this is my little insurance policy that you've at least looked at them, okay? Sorry. Yeah, I don't like to dream about getting paid either. Yeah, I don't think any of us like to dream about getting paid. Let's talk about some of these here. Example 1, how to find commission or royalty payments based on sales. So here's our worked example, okay? This is going to have the problem and the solution, and we're going to use this worked example as a model for solving other problems um, subsequent to this, okay? Adriana wrote a textbook for high school students. She receives a 10% royalty based on the total sales of the book. The book sells for $47.95, and 17,000 copies were sold last year. How much did Adriana receive in royalty payments for last year? How are you going to figure this out? Well, you're going to determine the amount of sales from the 17,000 books, right? We know there are 17,000 books. We know each book sold for $47.95, sorry. And when we multiply these two things together, we find that together that makes 815,000. So not quite $1,000,000, but over half a million, right? A little over three-quarters of a million, actually. So the total amount of sales is $815,150. But we're not done. Right now we have total sales here, but we want to know how much did Adriana receive in royalty payments from writing this book. So this is the total sales of the book. Adriana gets paid 10%, right? Adriana gets a royalty payment of 10%. All right, here, just highlighting some of our important information here. And so we're going to express this 10% as a decimal, right? And hopefully you all remember how to do this. But for those of you who don't, if I have 10% and I need to express it as a decimal, I'm going to try to remember how many cents there are in a dollar. How many cents are there in a dollar? Well, there's 100 cents in a dollar, 100 pennies in a dollar. I'm going to divide by 100. I'm going to divide by 100 to find out what this is percent expressed as a decimal. And when I do that, I don't need a calculator for this. I know what it's going to turn out to be. But it's going to be 0.10. Now, technically, you can express this as 0.1, right? I say 0.10 so that you can make the connection between 10%, right? 10% and the pen over here. So here is that 0.10 here, that 10% expressed as a decimal. Multiply these two things together, and we get $81,515. So Adriana receives $81,515 in royalty payments for last year for writing this book. All right? Feeling good about that? I'm going to erase the screen right now. Boop. When I give you that warning that I'm going to erase the screen, that's your chance to pause it. All right, let's talk about Jameer. Jameer wrote a fictional book about superheroes in an alternate reality. Jameer's contract with his publisher says he receives 10% royalty on the total sales of the book. His book sells for $18.95 in its first year, and in its first year, it sold 21,000 copies. What is Jameer's royalty payment for the first year? All right, this is where I encourage you to pause the video here and do not let me continue and show you how to do this until you've tried this, right? You are going to feel like you are learning a lot if you're just watching me. It's going to feel like you're still learning while you're watching me. But I assure you, the research shows that you actually trying this, and even if you struggle, especially if you struggle doing this, you're going to learn so much more in that process of struggle. Because in the process of struggle, that's when these neural pathways really start getting built. The passive learning method is not quite as good. Not quite as good. So I encourage you to pause me here and give this a shot. All right, I'll wait. It's a video. You pause me. Great. You paused me through the magic of video. I'm on pause now, and I'm going to show you how to do this. Right. So no worries. Don't stress out. Take yourself. Every time, every one of these problems, I want you to take 30 seconds to a minute to at least try it on your own, because that little struggle is super important to your learning. I assure you. Trust me on this. All right. So I'm going to do this thing where I'm going to highlight some important information of this word problem. Almost all the problems we see in this class are going to be word problems. Why? Because we're dealing with real world problems. And in the real world, we have to identify the relevant information. We have to eliminate the extraneous or ignore the extraneous information. All right. This is like math in the real world. All right. The book. So we're going to copy kind of the procedure that happened up here in the worked example. We know that there's 21,000 books this time. 21,000 books were sold. Each sold for $18.95. So we're going to multiply them just like we did over here. 1895. And this is where I will need a calculator to help me out with this, all right? Boop. And here it goes. Hello, Mr. Calculator, help me out. It's thinking. It's thinking if it wants to do this. It's not sure. It's considering it. Maybe eventually it'll turn on. Did I forget to put batteries in my laptop? This isn't supposed to happen. It's supposed to turn on by now. I don't know what's going on. Okay. Woof. I was getting worried there. Were you getting worried there? Thanks for worrying about me. 21,000. 21,000 times 1895. All right. That's a big number. 397,950. 397,950 dollars. Total sales of this book. Are we done? No, we're not done. We have total sales. We have total sales just like we had total sales here. But now we want to have to find the commission rate, right? The commission is 10%. We're going to have to multiply this number here by 10%. So here we go. Oh, I hate it when I pick the wrong tool. That's an awful 3. This is what I get for trying to write on a computer. I'm trying to write smaller here. And it's not working as well for me. Come on, give me a little multiplication sign, writing pad. There we go. Multiplication sign if you couldn't tell. Oh my gosh, and I just realized I'm writing on my head. Okay, I'm going to have to, like, get out of your way, right? Whoa, there I am. I'm out of your way. Times 0.10. Why? Why that? Remember that 10%? Divided by 100? That's 10% expressed as a decimal. 0.10. Right there it is. So now I got to find out what that is. I got to find out what that is. I'm going to need to go back to my handy math machine to figure this out. Handy math machine, please work this time. Thank you. $397,950 multiplied by 10% expressed as a decimal. 0.10. Enter. Nice. 39,795. Whoopsie daisy. What did I just do? Go back. There we go. Pressed a button and it did something strange. Okay. All right. There we are. There we are. That's our final answer. 30. Why is the 3 is getting goofy? That's such a goofy 3. I need to erase it. I'm embarrassed by that 3. All right. $39,795. That's Jameer's royalty payment for the first year. Okay. So what you'll do is you'll type this into the field. I don't know why they call these fields, but in forms, they call these fields. And so 39,795. So I'm going to type this one into the field. All right, I'm going to put this one into the form, just like this. I'm not going to do the ones in the future. I'm not going to type them into the field every time. And the reason for that is because some students will just like scan through the whole video, ignore everything that's being all the instruction, and they'll just get the answers, and then they'll get to the part where I'm not providing answers, and the instruction's over, the instruction part is over, and they'll be like, I don't know how to do these. Well, it's because you need to learn how to do these, right? And you're going to learn through these practice problems. If you just copy down the answers, you're not getting the learning experience that's intended, all right? So I'm not always going to put them in the field. I'll write them down, or they'll be in the calculator, or I'll say, finish this last calculation, right? I might do something like, just finish this, put that in your calculator, and you'll be done, right? I'll just something like that. I'll indicate, so these, for the part where I provide instructional support, and usually for these lessons, like this lesson here, lesson 3, will take 6 days. I need 2 hands to do 6, not 6, okay? So 3 of those days will be instructional support, which means for half the problems, I'm going to show you how to do them. And the idea, the goal, what I'm shooting for is we're going to be doing anywhere from 8 to 12 problems each day. So if you can just keep up with 12 problems per day, you'll be fine. All right, and they're word problems. And I know that's a struggle for some people. We'll get through it. I'm gonna erase the screen. Pause it if you need it. All right. Oh, I didn't want that. I don't know what I just pressed. I pressed something to make the computer be funny. Okay. Next problem. So the first problem is first problem I give you after a work example is almost exactly like the work example, right? And the next problem, I'm going to make it tricky. I'm going to put a twist on it, right? Because now I know you can do that. Let's see if you can do it when it's a little different, all right? And this requires you to think like you're going to have to not just follow the formula. You're going to think about how to unfollow the formula, and I'll show you how that works. Let's read it. Jameer was paid $19,425 for the book he wrote last year, which sold for $12.95 for each copy. If Jameer's contract with his publisher states he receives a royalty on 10% of all sales, how many copies of his last book were sold? We need to, so this time, before we were trying to find out what he actually got paid in terms of royalty commission. In this problem, we're actually told what he got paid in royalty commission. And we're told how much each book cost. We're told his royalty commission rate. What we're not told is how many books were sold. And the tricky thing is we can find that out by undoing the procedure we did a second ago. So remember how last time to find this number right here, we had to multiply it. We had to multiply it by 0.10. Well, we're going to undo that calculation. Why? Because if we undo that calculation, it'll give us total sales, right? So if we know he was paid $19,425, and we know that he was paid 10%, right? 10% of total sales. If I divide this number by 0.10, I'm going to get total sales, right? Before we were multiplying 0.10 to find the royalty payment. Now we're undoing that calculation, that computation, in order to find total sales. So I need to pick out my math machine for this. 19,425 divided by 0.10. Technically, I don't need that 0 at the end, but I'm just doing it for your convenience. Aha! I can now see that total sales was $194,250. Now, if you knew how that math worked, you probably could have done that in your head. But I always encourage you to leave the simple computation stuff to your math machine. It's really good at that stuff. And preserve all your RAM, your working memory for being the mathematician that will interpret the calculator. I'm trying to write a 9 here, and it's just not working out for me right now. Am I writing? Okay, right. I'm writing right above my head. Good. I need to keep my big fat head out of the calculations. Okay, that's just so embarrassing. I'm just going to rewrite it. 1, 9, 4, 2. Don't make fun of me now. 5, 0. All right. What did I do? Oh my gosh. Look at that. Why did I add that little decimal? I don't know. Okay. So this means, what do we got here? What do we got here? Well, we got the total sales, right? So Mears' last book, the total sales, it was $194,000, $194,250 of total sales. And using this information here, we could find out how many books were sold, right? Because now we're going to take this number. Notice how before we took we found total sales by multiplying the number of books sold by how much each book cost. Now this time we're going to undo that multiplication by division, just like we undid the last multiplication by division. We're going to undo it by dividing by what? Dividing by the cost of each book, right? If $194,250 of total sales books were sold, okay, and then we could divide that number by $12.95 to find out how many books were sold. And I'm going to leave that you to calculate. You're going to throw that in your calculator, and you're going to put that in there. Okay? It requires you to pick up that calculator and make good use of it. Right? You're going to maybe want to pause, do whatever you need to do to make this happen, and you're going to type your answer in that field. Okay? I am going to clear the screen and move on. And here we go. Challenge. Now, I'm not going to do the challenge problem. I do sometimes throw in a challenge problem, one challenge problem per day during instructional support time, where it's just you're on your own. I'm going to read it to you, and you're just going to struggle through it. And if you don't get it right, don't worry about it. You'll get partial credit for trying, right? And so just try. If you don't try, if you leave it blank, I can't give you any credit whatsoever, right? You try something, I'll give you partial credit, and then I'll tell you how to fix it, and you'll fix it, and you should get 100 on all these. There's no reason why you should have anything less than a 90 on any of these assignments after you do your corrections. Challenge. Xander writes math textbooks that sell for $14.95 each. This is a really cheap math textbook. Usually math textbooks are like $150 or $300 each. This is probably like a Barron's Review Guide price here. Anyway, moving on. He received a bonus of $2,500 for signing a contract, and he receives 8% commission on each book sale. Express the total amount of income Xander earns from selling 18,000 books. All right, I'm going to leave you to it. I'm going to leave that right there. You're going to pause the video. You're going to struggle through it, and you're going to get some partial credit for trying, or you're going to get full credit because you're awesome and you can just get it done. Honestly, it's not much of a challenge here. The only thing different from this problem as the others is you're going to have to add 2,500, right, on top of whatever he got for commission because there's a signing bonus. That's all it is. I'm not trying to trick you. Just a little twist on it. Pardon me. Example 2. How to find total commission from sales and commission rates. All right, so Allison sells cosmetics part-time from door to door. She is paid a monthly commission. She receives 11% of her first $900 in sales, and then 17% on the balance of her sales. So 11% of the first $900 of cosmetics sold. She's going to get 17% commission rate on anything over $900. Last month, she sold $1,250 worth of cosmetics. How much commission did she earn last month? All right, well, here's how we're going to figure this out. Find the commission on the first $900 of sales by multiplying 900 by the commission rate expressed as a decimal. So we know that she receives 11% based on the first 900. So we're going to take care of that problem first. Here's the $900, the first $900 of cosmetics she sold. Here's the 11% rate she gets paid for that first 900, and we find out that she got paid $99 of commission based on the $900 in sales at 11% commission rate. Fair enough? So kind of keep that 99 bucks in your mind because we're going to need to do something with this later, right? Remember that one. So then we're going to determine the amount over 900 by subtracting 900 from total sales. So her total sales were 1,250. We're going to subtract 900 because she gets paid an extra special commission rate for anything over 900. We can't count the 900 with that, right? She already got paid for the first 900. Now we're trying to figure out what she's going to get paid, that little extra special bonus for over $900. So 1,250 minus 900 is 350. So the balance over 900 is 350. This is the amount of money she's going to get that special 17% with. So to find that 17% commission, we got to multiply 350 by the 17% commission rate expressed as a decimal. Notice how it's not 10% anymore, or you notice how here was like, I forgot, I didn't even talk about this, did I? So 11% is 0.11, 17% is 0.17, and 10% is 0.10. Are you starting to see the pattern here? You don't necessarily need to break out your calculator and divide by 100 each time if you know how to move this decimal over, right? So 350 times 0.17 is $59.50. So this is the second that 17% balance of her sales commission rate she got. So now we got to add these two things together, right? We got to add the $99 with the $59.50, which gives us $158.50. The total commission for Allison for everything she sold that month was $158.50. Probably not bad. A little bit of profit for some little part-time gig she's got on the weekends, selling cosmetics. Little extra hustle money, right? All right, so let's talk about Hermes. Well, let me clear the screen. There we go. Let's talk about Hermes. Hermes is a salesperson for LeafGuard, a company that produces screens that go on gutters so that no leaves fall into the gutters and therefore no leaves need to be cleaned out every year. Hermes is paid a monthly commission based on 15% of the sales he makes on LeafGuard products. Last month, Hermes sold $30,555.56 of LeafGuard products to 30 customers. How much commission will Hermes get paid for last month's commission, or sales? I should have said. Actually, it should be sales, right? You're gonna pause me. You're gonna try this. You're gonna do fine. All right. You're gonna struggle through it maybe, and you'll get through it. And then I'll show you. If you can't figure it out in a minute, press play again, and I'll show you how to do it. I want you to try because you'll learn more by trying. All right. Go for it. All right. To the magic of video. You've unpaused me. I'm back. All right. Here we go. We're going to use this. We're going to use this right here as kind of our. Actually, this isn't even nearly as complicated, right? This is a pretty simple one. I'm going to highlight my important information. There's 15% of sales. There's $30,555.56. 30 customers. Hey, you know what? That's not actually necessary for this, right? This is what we call extraneous information. I don't really need to know that there's 30 customers there. Sometimes the regents will throw in this extraneous information because in the real world you have to know what's relevant and what's not. In this word problem, in this situation, I don't need to know how many customers it was. So if you use that 30 in the problem, that'll just confuse you. All right, here we go. I'm going to take the $30,555.56. I'm going to multiply it by 0.15. Why this number and not another number? Well, 15% expressed as a decimal divided by 100, 0.15. All right, don't believe me? Throw out your calculator. Sometimes seeing is believing. In fact, you know what? If you don't like converting those things in your head, and I know some students didn't last year. Okay, calculator, you were working fine a second ago. Just because I turn you off for a second doesn't mean you go away forever. I need a better computer, don't I? This is sad. Okay, come on, clicky clicky. I did my job. You do yours now. Turn on. There. It's okay. $30,555.56 times. Here's how I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do it special this time. I'm gonna express it like this. It'll come out the same way as if you put 0.15. It really will. Because if I put this in parentheses, it'll do this division first, and then it'll multiply. All right, $4,583. I always get tricked by that highlighter. $4,583. And my threes are just suffering today. Ooh, that's terrible. Try again. Don't laugh at me too much with my handwriting. I've seen all your handwriting. Actually, I haven't seen your handwriting, have I? Okay, I'll say I've seen student handwriting in the past. And, okay, you wouldn't believe how hard it was for me to put a little decimal in there. The drawing pad doesn't like these little tiny dots that I do. Ooh, I have a little bit of rounding to do, don't I? Well, I want to round to the nearest cent. So I look at one place beyond the cent. I see this 4 here is a 4, and 4 is less than 5, right? If this was 5 or greater, I'd round to this 3 up. But since it's 4, I leave it alone. So 33 cents. That's how much Hermes is making for that month in terms of commission. That's pretty good money. You're going to type that into the field over there. All right. I'm going to clear this. And if you needed it, you'll just go rewind the video. We're moving on. Juliana sells electronics on commission. She receives 7% of her first $5,000 in sales and 10% on the balance of her sales. Last week, she sold $15,000 worth of electronics. Express the commission she earned last month. Okay, this problem here is a lot more like our worked example, right? Where there's two different rates. So please refer to this worked example where there's two different rates to solve the word problem with Juliana. All right, pause the video and give it a shot. Good job. You paused it, you unpaused it, you gave it a shot because you know you're going to learn more this way, right? All about the learning, people. All right. So I'm going to highlight some important information. I'm going to highlight the important information. I got 10% on the 15,000. All right, I'm looking good. So I'm going to take care of the first piece first, right? I'm going to take care of the first 7% on our first $5,000. So I know she sold over $5,000, which means I'm going to take 5,000. I'm going to multiply it by 7% expressed as a decimal, which looks like that. And then after I find what that is, I'm going to find out, okay, what did she sell over 5,000? I'm sorry, yeah, over 5,000. So to find that out, I would take 15